بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. أسأل الله تبارك وتعالى أن يجعل نياتنا خالصة لوجهه الكريم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Inshallah ta'ala, we're going to finish this last section on the statement of Al-Imam Al-Tahawi, لا تهوي الجهة ست كسائر المبتدعات, which we were covering what Ibn Abi al-Iz al-Hanafi mentioned in regards to his refutation of Imam Al-Tahawi, which he called an explanation. And as we said, we were reading this from the side of things are made known or clear by their opposites. So we explained the belief of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, which is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He exists without being in a place or a direction or having distance between Him and His creation. And normally, when you're learning about the creed of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, or the creed of Islam, you learn what is the creed in a basic way, and then that is sufficient. So one would learn, as an example, Allah mawjudun bila makan. Allah exists without a place. Laysa fi jihatin min al jihad. He is not in a direction among the directions. ولا مسافة بينه وبين خلقه. There is no distance between him and his creation. Because Allah tabarak wa ta'ala laysa jisman wala jawharan wala arada. That Allah, and the reason is that Allah is not a body, He's not a particle from which bodies are made, nor is He an attribute of those particles. So Allah is not a body, and Allah is not parts of bodies, and Allah does not have color, related to Him, or any of those movement or rest, any of those attributes of bodies. Hence, we know, as the great Imam Dhunun al-Misri and Ahmad ibn Hanbal said, مهما تصورت ببالك فالله بخلاف ذلك. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah is different from that. And we understand, as Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu mentioned, knowing that you cannot know the reality of Allah is knowledge in itself, and searching for His reality is an issue of disbelief and associating partners with Him. So this is the belief of Ahl Sunnah, and we summarize all that with the statement of Allah, Laysa kamithlihi shay. Summary, very brief, straight to the point. Right? And we don't make an analogy between the Creator and the creation. There is no analogy between the Creator or the creation. So this is sufficient for the Muslim. He's not obligated to go beyond this in his belief, except if something or someone brings false beliefs and conviction that causes doubt in the person's mind about the correct creed. When that occurs, it is obligatory upon that person to learn enough of the details of the creed to remove that doubt, or to remove that thing that is causing confusion, that conviction that is causing confusion. So, mathalan, as an example of that, we live in a time where there are a section of people who say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a direction and he is in a location which is above the throne, above the universe, and that's where Allah is. And they would tell people, you must believe that. And they would interpret verses of the Quran or hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a way that would make one think that it's obligatory to believe that Allah is in a direction or that Allah is in a place. And or that person would be told that Allah has real limbs and organs, or if they didn't say organs, they say that Allah has these attributes that are literal and we must believe them literally and really, and literal and really means organs, even though they say they're not organs, then they're not really or literal, but never mind that. So in this case, it's obligatory to learn. And in our time, at minimum, we want people to know what they believe in and not be confused in it. So through the opposite, you will learn what is your belief. So for instance, after the last 2 or 3 days of reading their works of the Wahhabiyya and the Salafiyya, we clearly understand why there's a difference between the Ash'aris and Maturidis and Al-Mushabbiha and Al-Mujassima. It's a clear difference. It's not something that one would ever have to guess again. Am I right about that, or am I mistaken? Everyone knows that there's a clear difference between the beliefs of the Ash'aris and Maturidis and the belief of the Wahhabi Salafi movement. Has this become clear? Like Ibn Abi al-Iz is mentioning here, or Fawzan mentioned in his book. Because if we don't understand that, then we have a problem, Houston, right? Tayyib. So the claim of the belief of Ahl Sunnah, Al-Asha'ira wal-Maturidiyya wal-Fudala min al-Hanabila, and the righteous or virtuous among the Hanbalis, is that Allah mawjudun bila makan wala jiha, right? He is free of place and direction. The belief of Al-Wahhabiyya, As-Salafiyya, mentioned by Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya, and Bin Baz, Uthaymeen, Al-Albany, Fawzan, Muqbil, all of those, Rabi al-Madkhali, all of those people, may Allah guide them, all of them have this belief that Allah is in a place, in a location, has a direction, wal-iyadhu billah. May Allah protect us from such vile creed. And I understand, trust me, I really understand how this is taxing on some people in terms of when the light gets turned on, you see things that you didn't notice in the dark. And knowledge is like that light. When that light comes on, you see all the imperfections or the filth or what is wrong inside the room. So long as the light's out, it all looks the same. But knowledge, as we learn, the lights come on. And then we see, oh, this is what you was trying to say to me? No. Doesn't work that way. So this job that we're doing, it is the job of the great scholars who came before us. That's why Imam Al-Tahawi mentioned, and let's go back. Where is my book? Oh, here. Could you go to the text real quick and go to page 1 and read it real quick?
Sure.
The original text, the Creed of Islam.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulullah. The author, may Allah Ta'ala have mercy on him, said, Exposition of the Creed of Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. This is an exposition of the creed, Aqidah, of Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, according to the school, Madhab, of the jurists, Fuqaha, of the religion, Deen, Abu Hanifa al-Numan ibn Thabit al-Kufi, Abu Yusuf Yaqub ibn Ibrahim al-Ansari, and Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn al-Hasan al-Shaybani. It consists of the foundations of the religion that they believed in and with which they submitted to the Lord of the worlds.
So Imam Al-Tahawi, as we mentioned, and it's a reminder, they say, fil i'ada ifada, the more you repeat something, you benefit from it. He explained Ahl-Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Then he explained that this is an explanation of that creed. And he told it was based on the methodology of who? Abu Hanifa, Abu Yusuf, and Muhammad ibn al-Hasan al-Shaybani. May Allah be pleased with them all. And what they believed. And then Imam Al-Tahawi went all the way through in explaining all the different aspects of the creed. And how was he explaining them? In relation and to what the people had misinterpreted among the beliefs, he clarified them, but just by giving what Ahl Sunnah believe. Now go to the last paragraph. It should be marked, right? The end of the text, the last paragraph.
The bold print or the last?
Bold print only.
We dissociate ourselves before Allah Ta'ala Most High from anyone who opposes what we have stated and elucidated.
So he lays all of the belief of Ahl Sunnah. Then he says, whatever contradicts that, we're free from it. We disavow ourselves from it. We don't accept it. Now,
we ask Allah Ta'ala Most High to enable us to remain steadfast as believers and to steer our lives accordingly, and to protect us from the various heterodoxies, schismatic opinions, and pernicious doctrines.
Right. So now he's going to mention what he considers away from Ahl Sunnah, that these beliefs are not the belief of Ahl Sunnah.
Such as those of the anthropomorphists, the Jamia, the Jabriya, the Qadariya, and
So
others.
The anthropomorphists are Al-Mushabbiha and the Jahmiya. Go ahead.
And others who oppose the Sunnah and the main body of the community.
So throughout the text, you would notice that he would make points, and he indicates that this point, Imam Al-Ghaznawi, rahimahullah, mentions this is for the Mushabbiha, this is the Mujassima, this is Al-Mu'tazila, this is Al-Ja'miya, this is Al-Qadariya, this is Al-Murjiya, etc. This is Al-Jabriya, and all of these different groups. And he mentions them for a reason, to explain that these people who claim to be Muslim, who claim to follow Islam, have come with innovations, with vile madhahib, schools of thought that are not permissible to believe. This is the belief of Ahl Sunnah as opposed to them. Go ahead.
And allied themselves with misguidance. We dissociate ourselves from them all, and we consider them misguided and destructive.
So here, he gives us that clear. That concept of Imam Al-Tahawi applied to every Muslim who is Ahl Sunnah in every time. We're in our time. So we face the same thing, just different, maybe different creeds and different forms, different names, the same concept. The belief of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is one. Tayyib. So let's finish this last section. I know some of you may have been like, okay, I got the point. But we want to make sure we clear to finish to complete what we intended, inshallah. Go ahead. And I'll let it go fast. I won't take long on it. Go ahead.
But
And
there are
we're
two.
reading, this book is not the text we're reading. We're reading from the commentary of Ibn Abi al-Iz, who, in his explanation, he wrote what he considered an explanation of the creed of Al-Tahawi. But his explanation, we've learned, is really a refutation, because he negated what the scholars of Ahl Sunnah said, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not contained by the 6 directions. Go ahead.
But there are two more observations that must be made concerning his statement. First, it would have been better for him
I want to hear something funny real quick. So I won't tell you who, but one of our students, we were reading. We do this when we study, right? So we'll read, and this is how our teachers taught us. We would read books of Ahl Sunnah, and we would sometimes come across the books, and the scholar would mention a point. So our habit is always to go check, just in case there was a misquote or there was more additional information that is needed to understand the case. So we were reading in one book written by another scholar who was talking about Ibn Taymiyyah, who was the Sheikh of Ibn Abi al-Iz. And he was reading, after reading the things he said, with some of them, they reached a level that one would judge it as kufr, as disbelief. It was so ugly, right? So he was reading, and the person who was quoting him wrote, Rahimahullah, right? That person wrote in the book, Ibn Taymiyyah, Rahimahullah, right? So the person was reading, after reading what he had said, and then when he saw his name and because he started to stutter. It was hilarious. And you should saw his face. He's like, how do I say Rahimahullah after reading all that? And then I had to explain to him, scholars, they understood different things. Some scholars, they all said he was misguided. But they said, some said, his misguidance was a source of confusion based on text that he misunderstood. He didn't intend what it sounds like he's saying. So he's wrong and he's misguided, but they didn't go to the level of kufr. Well, other scholars, they said, no, this is kufr and he's a kafir, right? As I mentioned to you, in any case, all of them said he's wrong. But just, you're going to run across that. So you should be aware of that. Because some of us think that only the way we learned is everybody in Ahl Sunnah think like we think. That's not true. And if you apply that belief you have, you're going to become a fanatic. And most of the people of Ahl Sunnah are going to look at you like you're crazy. So you should be aware of that, right? And there are groups like that they consider whoever don't think like I think. I'm talking about they are Sunni in their nature. But their idea is whoever doesn't believe exactly as we believe or see things exactly the way we see things, they are misguided and they are kuffar. And this is an ugly habit that has led to them becoming like a cult. And considering there's not a scholar on the face of the earth who's not a kafir, if you apply their rules. But they apply the rules when it's there for their benefit. So they apply it here, don't apply it here, apply it here, don't apply it here, which is inconsistent. And that's why they're considered a group that in the Muslim world, no one listens to them, except their own followers. So don't go to that extreme, but also don't go to the extreme of making permissible what is not permissible. So find a middle balance, Now, go ahead. I just said that because I noticed how you started. Go ahead.
But there are two observations that must be made concerning his statement. First, it would be better for him to avoid the use of these terms, which are general and vague. One could accuse him of making contradictory statements and argue that he affirms that Allah Ta'ala encompasses everything and is above everything, and at the same time, he denies that he is above all.
So
However,
this is a a a understanding of Ibn Abi al-Iz. And he says that Ibn Taymi, I mean Ibn Abu Ja'far al-Tahawi's words, they're confusing and they can be contradicting. That's none of our scholars, and I will show you later the commentaries by the other scholars. None of them said that. Only these people with their ideas said that. Now,
However, this charge can easily be repudiated by saying, as we have done, that what he denies is that anything created can encompass him. This example shows that using the wording of the text of the Quran and Sunnah is best.
keep this word. He said, فَالِاعْتِصَامُ بِالْأَلْفَاظِ الشَّرْعِيَّةِ أَوْلَى. Right? He says, clinging or sticking to the words that are related in the text are more befitting. That's true. And how did the Salaf do that? The Salaf, they would recite the verse, right? And they would leave it. They would recite the hadith and they would leave it. They wouldn't add any more. They wouldn't explain anything. And they would just say, Laysa kamithlihi shay, right? And that is the wording of the text. While believing Allah is clear of non-befitting attributes. So for instance, if you read in the Quran, Yadallahi fawqa aydihim, Ar-Rahmanu ala al-arsh istawa, kullu shay'in halikun illa wajha, right? If you recited that and just stopped, and you don't try to go beyond that, you don't think of Allah in terms of creation, you know, Laysa kamithlihi shay. All that is recitation of the text and stop. This is valid. No one would ever even accuse you of anything. If you stop, you're not obligated to go beyond that, right? That's it. Allah said, Ar-Rahmanu ala al-arsh istawa, laysa kamithlihi shay, wa lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad. Right? Hal ta'lamu lahu samiyya. Stop. That's the Quran. That's my belief. It's finished. What comes the problem when you translate it or you add words, you make another things, then there you go. You've made a mistake. So when you start going to all these other things and your belief is added to what was mentioned in the Quran or trying to explain in your own words, you have deviated from this concept. Go ahead.
Second, his statement, as all created beings are, suggests that all created beings are contained. This is debatable. If he means by that are contained by something existing, that is not true, for the world is not contained by another world. If this were not the case, one would then run into an infinite regression. On the other hand, if he means bound by something that does not exist, that too is not correct. Not everything created is in a non-being. Some things are inside other things, just as the heavens and the earth are in the footstool, and so on. In addition, some things mark the ultimate limit of the created world, such as the throne. In any case, the world is not in any other created object, as otherwise we would not be able to avoid an infinite regression, as we have just stated.
And this is totally false, but that's a whole nother discussion that I don't want to open to you. But this is totally false. Go ahead.
One might respond to this objection by stating that the word sa'ir is in the words sa'ir al-muqtada'at, as all created beings are, does not mean all but the rest of the created beings, which is the original meaning of the word. Sa'ir comes from the root word as sur, which means what is left over from a drink or meal. Hence, the reference here would be most of the created things and not all of them. or the majority and not the totality.
Let me give you, that is contradicting the belief of Ahl Sunnah. The Ahl Sunnah believe that all of the universe is created and nothing in the creation is eternal and doesn't have an end. And all the creations are encompassed by the six directions. Now, go ahead.
Hence, what the author means is that Allah Ta'ala is not bound by anything, as are most of the creation. He is absolutely unbounded. However, we cannot imagine that the author is one of those who say that Allah Ta'ala is neither in the world nor outside of it, as some commentators have suggested.
All right, here, this is a belief, and this is important, that they say Allah is kharijul alam, outside of the world, right? Where Ahl Sunnah, they say Allah, he's not dakhilul alam, so they say he's not inside the world. So if he's not inside the world, he must be outside of the world. Being inside or outside is not applicable to Allah. Why? Because Allah is not in a place or a location. So the concept of if you're not inside the world, you're outside of the world is something you're talking about created beings, which has nothing to do with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the problem is where you fall in, where you think of Allah as a body, as a creation. And once you think of them and you have other creations, then necessarily he's going to be in the world or outside of the world. Both of those are not befitting of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because being inside of the universe or outside of the universe is relation to one, it would be in relation to one body to another. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala laysa jisman. Allah is not a body. So therefore, distance and being inside and outside do not relate to him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Did y'all follow that? So this concept of dakhilul alam or khairul alam does not apply to Allah. But because they believe Allah is has some relation to the creation in terms of space and direction, then they say he's not inside the world because he would be created. So he's outside of the world in a non-existent place, in a non-existent direction. Therefore, the world is in one place, which is an existing place, and Allah is in another place, which is a non-existent place outside of the world. I know it doesn't make sense, but do you follow what they're saying? I know it doesn't make sense, but that's their point that he's making. Go ahead.
But his meaning is that Allah Ta'ala is too exalted for any of his creatures to encompass him and too perfect to need anything, be it the throne or anything else.
So he changed the meaning of a Tahawi speech when a Tahawi said that Allah is not contained by the six directions, as is the case with all of the creation, right? He said, no, some of the creation, right? Now, go ahead.
It is debatable whether Imam Abu Hanifa ever said these words. His opponents attacked him on much more.
And there is a statement of Imam Abu Hanifa, which is not here, and that shouldn't be Imam Abu Hanifa. It should be actually Imam Al-Tahawi, who he's talking about. He said, right, وَفِي ثُبُوتِ هَذَا الْكَلَامِ أَنَ الْإِمَامَ أَبِي حَنِيفَةَ النَّظَرِ. It really should be Imam Al-Tahawi, because that's who he's talking about when he said, لَا تَحْوِهِ جِهَةِ سِتَّ كَسَائِرِ مُبْتَدَعَاتِ. What they meant by saying that he really didn't say that. That was put in the book. No one made that claim but him. And even Abu Hanifa, there is a statement of Abu Hanifa. He said that if Allah was above the throne, then where was Allah before the throne was created? That's how Imam Abu Hanifa refuted the one who said that Allah was in a direction or in a place. He said, لو كان الله على العرش أين كان الله قبل خلق العرش. If Allah was on the throne, where was he before the throne was created? Right? Because he said the throne is the end of the world, right? Well, the throne wasn't always existing, but Allah was always existing. So Allah was not in the direction, and then you're saying after creating the throne, Allah became in the direction of above. Wal-iyadhu billah. Now, which is at-taghayyur, which is change. And at-taghayyur, change, is the most significant sign of a thing, that thing is a creation. Go ahead.
His opponents attacked him on much more trivial matters. Had they thought he made a statement like this, they would have openly denounced him, and that denunciation would have been known to everyone. On the
And
contrary,
here, this is also remembering that Imam Al-Tahawi's statements are related as the belief of Abu Hanifa and his two companions. Now,
on the contrary, Abu Muti al-Balkhi narrated that Abu Hanifa confirmed Allah Ta'ala's being above the world, as we will mention later.
and this is Ithbatul Ulu. There's a word called Al-Ulu, which means highness, right? Al-Ulu. Right? So Sifatul Ulu. What Ahl Sunnah, when they say Ulu is Ulu al-Makana, highness of status, not Ulu al-Makan, of place. So we don't negate Ulu for Allah. We don't mean by Ulu that Allah is in a location. Ulu means Allah has a lofty status, a high rank. Now,
but the most apparent meaning of the words mentioned here imply negation of that concept. There is no statement of this matter in either the book or the Sunnah. For that reason, I say that there is some debate as to whether Abu Hanifa actually said it. The best course would be to refrain from saying anything general on this issue. Had it been a matter related to the words stated in the text of the Quran and Sunnah, such as mounting the throne, istiwa, or coming down, nuzul, we could talk about them. Only in
so you notice how they translate it. Al-istiwa, mounting the throne, establishing the throne, wal-iyadhu billah. An-nuzul, coming down. It is because what? They have this belief that Allah is in the place. But al-istiwa and al-nuzul, these attributes are attributes of Allah's action. They are eternal, and Allah had those attributes before the creation of the throne, before the creation of the heavens and the earth, and they didn't become attributes, and these are not attributes which necessitate movement, settling, rest, because all of these are attributes of bodies, and Allah is clear of being a body. Now,
only an ignorant person would say that when Allah Ta'ala comes down to the lowest heaven, as we have in the hadith,
and they mean by this Sifatul Nuzul. Go ahead.
the throne will be above him, and he will be in between the two realms of the universe. This goes against the consensus of the elders, Salaf, as well as the Quran and the Sunnah. Furthermore, Shaykh al-Islam Abu Uthman Ismail ibn Abdurrahman as-Sabuni wrote that he heard from Abu Mansur ibn Hamshad that Abu Hanifa was asked about the hadith that mentions Allah Ta'ala's descending. He replied, Allah Ta'ala descends in a manner unknown to us.
That's not what that says. These people are ridiculous. He says, Su'ila Abu Hanifa anhu, yani hadith al-nuzul. فقال ينزل بلا كيف. I'm right here. Right? You see that? It talks about Abu Hanifa. This is the line here. Su'ila Abu Hanifa. Let me turn this way. Su'ila Abu Hanifa anhu, يعني hadith al-nuzul, right? يقول ينزل بلا كيف. Read that again. He said, Abu Hanifa said what?
Allah Ta'ala descends in a manner unknown to us.
Bila kayf means without a how, not in a manner unknown to us. There is another trick. You see what Abu Hanifa said? Su'ila Abu Hanifa, yanzilu bila kayf. Bila kayf means without a how, not in a manner that is unknown to us. Why? Because these Wahhabiyya, they believe, and I will discuss it, that Allah actually descends and moves, but we just don't know how he moves. But it's a real movement, but we don't know how, right? And this is not the belief of Abu Hanifa or the Salaf. They're saying how is negated from Allah, because how is a question about bodies and created things. How does not apply to Allah and his attributes. So you see how they mix the words and play with the words and change stuff all around. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Naam.
Those who keep silent on the issue of Allah Ta'ala's transcendence over the world do so because their knowledge of the Quran, the Sunnah, and the sayings of the elders, Salaf, is limited. For that reason, some of them reject the notion that Allah Ta'ala is above the throne. They say that He is neither above nor beside it, nor inside or outside the world. They thus described Allah Ta'ala in negative and impossible terms.
No, here they says, not negative, bisifatul adam. They say if you're not in a place, if you're not around a place or inside or outside, then you don't exist. But what they have made by that, and Ibn Taymiyyah's belief led to that the world by Khan is eternal, because they cannot conceive Allah's existence when there's no creation. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Go ahead.
They decline to predicate of him what he has predicated of himself.
That means describe. They describe. They saying they deny to describe him what he described himself with. Go ahead.
Such as being above the world or established on the throne. Others say that he resides in everything. Still others say that he is all there. He is all that there is. That he is all that is there, and so on. For exalted is Allah Ta'ala above all these wild summaries, surmises, and blasphemous statements. We will, God willing, discuss the transcendence, ulu, of Allah Ta'ala in detail later, while commenting on the author's statement. He encompasses all and is above all.
That's it. So in summarizing, all right, you get a break now. You made it through. I want to quickly make these points that they make. Bin Baz, you see this is Abdulaziz bin Baz, right? He was the Mufti of Saudi Arabia, and he's, bin Baz, everyone knows him, right? So when he explains this statement, لا تهوي جهة الستة وتعالى عن الحدود والغايات والأركان وأعضاء والأدوات, right? And he's explaining, you'll see here, this is their concept. I gotta go this way, right? Here, right? So he says, whoever says, وَمَنْ قَالَ مِنَ السَّلَفِ, whoever says from the Salaf that they confirm al-had, right? Al-had, which is a limit. Am I there? This way. This is the word had right here. Al-had, because Al-Tahawi said, Ta'ala anil hududi. Allah is transcended from having limits. So he said they confirm al-had fil istiwa aw ghayrihi, in the attribute of al-istiwa, which they're going to translate it as establishment, right? And other, he said, famuraduhu, what he means, had a limit, ya'lamahu Allah subhanahu, wa la ya'lamahu al-ibad. He said there's a limit that Allah knows, but the servants do not know, right? And go down. It's hard reading backwards, but you can see it. He said about Allah, talking about the attributes of Allah's essence, right? Sifatu al-dhatiyya. Min al-wajh, is wajh, and yad, and al-qadam, al-qadam, and nahwi. Nahu dhalik. So he said, yad, wajh, what they would translate as face, yad, hand, qadam, meaning foot, and other. That's what they said about Allah's attributes. That's what he calls them. He said, then Allah, fahuwa subhanahu, mawsufun bidhalik. He's attributed with those attributes. Lakin laysat sifatuhu mithlu sifatil khalq. That his attributes are not the attributes of creation. And here's the line I want to show you. That we do not know the how. Wala ya'lamu, right? And he does not know, or it is not known the how of it. Except وَلَا يَعْلَمُ كَيْفِيَتُهَا إِلَّا هُوَ سُبْحَانَهُ. No one knows the how of them except Allah. This term they have when they say Allah has a how that only He knows. So we affirm it's literally, we don't know the how. There is a how, but Allah knows it. Where Ahl-Sunnah said, Bila Kaif, there is no how. So when you read their books, the Wahhabiyya, they ascribe to Allah howness, which is attributes of creation in reality. But they say we don't know the how. Only Allah knows the how. So Allah has a limit. He has a direction. He's in a location, and He moves, and He sits, and He establishes Himself where He descends, all of these ugly things. But the way they try to put it in the mind of people by saying, we don't know how He does it. Allah knows how He does it. Only He knows, but there is a how, and it's real. Ahl-Sunnah negate the entire matter. When they say bila kayf, they mean how does not apply to Allah and His attributes. I'll stop there. If there's any questions, we're done with Al-Albany and Ibn Taymiyyah and all of those. I think everyone understands the point now. If there's any questions about this, please feel free to ask. I want to tell you something before we leave. So give me a second after we finish. If there's any questions, go ahead and I'll move to this. As you can see, when we study, it is important that we understand what everyone is saying. And when you understand what even the belief of Ahl-Sunnah is, and what those who oppose Ahl-Sunnah, it makes things clear for you. Then you know what you believe, and you also know what the one who contradicts you believe, so that you can explain it to others, right? But if you don't know, a lot of us would think it's all the same. So some people say, don't talk about Aqidah. While you're not talking about Aqidah, the Wahhabiyya or Salafiyya or other groups are pushing creeds that are not valid. And Muslims are being confused in the area of belief, which is the most essential area in Islamic knowledge, because without the correct belief, your deeds are not valid, right? So it is important that we explain this and make sure people understand. And we cannot avoid it. That doesn't mean that we're not going to try to work with people and get along, but we're not going to change the belief of Islam just to have what is called so-called unity. Unity is when we're all upon the correct creed. And in this day, even that doesn't make so much unity, but at least it's a start of unity. We all have the correct belief. We all believe the same. Then all we got to do is get over somebody's politics, and then we can make it through. I want to say this, and I'm going to say this straight up. From what you study, if someone tells you don't listen to somebody, and they want you only to follow them, that's a cult that you need to get away from, no matter who it is. Someone tells you, listen, only listen to us. Don't listen to no one else. When you hear someone tell you that, don't listen to someone else, they either think you stupid or they're trying to control you, one or the other, right? Because as you can see, in order to explain the truth and to know the truth, our scholars knew what other groups have said. And they could compare between Ahl Sunnah and what was not Ahl Sunnah. So this concept of only follow me and don't listen to no one else, that person is trying to make you a slave to his ideas. Because if you don't listen to no one else, you'll never discover where he's mistaken. So be careful this blind following people who want to control you. And usually when you study, the person who tells you don't listen to somebody else is not even giving you knowledge. They're limiting you in your understanding of the religion. And the reason why they keep your understanding limited is so they can control you. And then if you wake up and open your eyes, you will see that they are controlling you, that they are really misguiding you. Even sometimes people do that in the name of the truth. So for all of you who hear someone coming to you, oh, don't listen to Imam Amin, don't listen to Sheikh Walid, don't listen to them. Why not? Oh, they're misguided. They said the same thing you're saying. Oh, still don't listen to them. I want you to be in my group. Oh, so it's not about the truth, it's about your group. Tell them no thank you. Tell them no thank you. And that applies even if I told you that. I never tell you don't listen to nobody. I'm just giving you the knowledge and you go learn. Here's the points. Here's the things. Here's the proofs. Here's the evidences. Here's the book. This is Ahl Sunnah. You pick what you want, right? You have to use your mind. You can't blind follow me. That's not permissible. Most of the scholars, they said it is not sufficient to blind follow, to have or follow someone else in belief. You have to learn the belief and be convinced of it yourself. So you need to be aware, because I'm aware there are people that are Wahhabi and some that are Sunni that feels though we're taking their followers. And they're warning their followers, don't listen, don't go. You don't cheat yourself. Seriously, don't cheat yourself. That person who's telling you that is trying to control you. And if you start learning, they're afraid you're going to start questioning. The more you learn, the more you know, you'll see, wait a minute, how I've been around for 20 years and I don't know this stuff? Because I've been controlling you for 20 years. It wasn't meant for you to learn this stuff. And that's why I'm telling you, don't listen to them. Because if you listen to them, you're going to know some stuff and you're going to discover the crap I've been doing for 20 years or 30 years. And that's what happened with the movement of the Salafis. They've been running around the country and our communities for years, and people never understood that's what they're saying. Now, once people learn, they can say, whoa, 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 this is what you've been telling me. Same thing, but on both sides. So go research, go study. And if I can help you to learn and then go study, if Sheikh Wadi can help you and learn and study, then you've benefited. Don't have to follow me. If you want to support Masjid Muhammad, ahlan wa sahlan. You don't want to come, go anywhere else. Just have the correct belief. Doesn't make me a difference. I just want you to know so you're not misguided to the best of your ability. That's it. I'm not trying to get you to join my group. I'm not trying to make you stay in my group. My group is going to end with me too anyway if I have one. I don't have no group, but nevertheless, we just want to be Ahl Sunnah. Being Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, Ash'ari, Maturidi, Shafi, Maliki, Hanafi, Hanbali, following the way of Tasawwuf, that's sufficient. You don't need to add more to that. That's sufficient. You don't need to be in nobody's organization or cult or all that other crap. Just, I'm Ahl Sunnah. Is that not sufficient for you? Why I got to be in your group? Right? I don't want to be in your group. I'm not interested. I'm a black guy. Your group has nothing to do with me. I need to start my own group if I'm going to join a group that serves the interests of the people I'm from. Your group don't serve me or my people or care about my people. I'm not joining. Get lost. I'm Ahl Sunnah. That's sufficient. All right, that's a rant. But those who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about without me saying names or organizations. But you know what I'm talking about. You ain't you're an intelligent person. You get the point. Okay. Any questions or no? We done. Was there a question? There was no questions. I see some people talking about. Okay. Is there a hadith in which someone asks where Allah and the person pointed up and it was confirmed that it was correct? Is this why some people believe Allah is in direction? There is a hadith of that. That's called a hadith of Jariyah, the hadith of the slave girl. But that hadith doesn't even lead to that. Has multiple narrations that contradict each other. And even what is understood from that, as the scholars Imam an-Nawawi and others, that's meant to mention Allah's high status, not that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in places or directions. As Imam an-Nawawi mentioned when he explained or Ibn Hajar as well, when they explains these types of narrations. So in no way, but the Wahhabiyya used this hadith to indicate that Allah is in a place or a direction. But one day we'll go over this hadith, maybe sometimes during Ramadan, and I'll explain its different narrations and over that, inshallah. But that is a hadith they use for that purpose, but it doesn't stand as a proof once you understand narrations and you understand different meanings of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ related to that one narration. There is other questions? Sheikh Yanzilu, so we affirm this as an attribute. Yes. Do we say it doesn't mean to descend and there is no how? In relation to Allah, yes. Or do we say we know what Yanzilu means and it in terms of its apparent meaning, but there is no how? It's tafweed to say Allah knows best its meaning. Here, so you understand. Words have meanings. We know the meanings of words. Some of those meanings are befitting to Allah, and some of those meanings are not befitting to Allah. So descent with the literal meaning is not befitting to Allah. So we won't translate that as literally descending, meaning from one location to another. But the word yanzilu, that's a verb from the word nuzul, right? The word nuzul has meanings. Some of those meanings befit Allah and others do not. It is not obligatory to assign a specific meaning because in reality, what Allah meant by yanzilu, or what the Prophet said yanzilu, that's a hadith, that's not a verse in the Quran. When the Prophet ﷺ said yanzilu Rabbuna tabaraka wa ta'ala, that has a meaning that befits Allah. And we don't know the exact, of the multiple meanings of nuzul in the Arabic language, we cannot entail exactly what Allah intended by that. But he mentioned, as the Prophet said, yanzilu. So we accept it and we leave its meaning to Allah, but we understand that Allah is not like the creation. You follow my point? But the word descend, with the literal meaning of moving from one location to another, is not befitting of Allah, and we will not use it. Is that clear? And that's the same case with all the attributes. That is what is that's a tafweed. Allah. That's it. We're good. Okay. I think we're done. I want to share something with you, right? And I want you to understand this is from me. So you're going to get something from me, right? Uh, Go ahead. What's the question, Omar Salam? What about Isra? Isra and Mi'raj has nothing to do with Allah being in a place. So if you understood from those narrations that Allah is in a location, you've misunderstood. And none of our scholars said that. Is there a connection between Hanbali, Athari, and Salafi? That's a confusing issue. Now there are some people. There is an Egyptian person who's Hanbali, Athari, and he doesn't have the belief of the Salafi. If his belief is consistent with the belief of Ahl Sunnah, he called himself Hanbali Athari, mashallah. But the Salafi, then there are those Hanbali Atharis that are Wahhabi, and they use those terms. So stick with Ash'ari and Maturidi. And even if you don't negate, don't get mixed up. Stop trying to be different. That's our problem. Every new guy that come up, we want to jump on the bandwagon. Serious, this is dangerous, right? I'm not saying that person is wrong. I'm not, right? If his belief is consistent with belief of Ahl Sunnah, he's on al-haq, no matter what he calls himself, right? So I'm not talking about him. But with us, I'm talking about black folks. Seriously, we are deep with gang following cults and trends. Ahl Sunnah is a long, old way in methodology. Stick to it. There's always going to be somebody coming up with some new stuff all the time. This has been our history. If you study the history of African Americans in Islam, every so many years we switching. That's because we are like following trends. We do that in hip hop music, in clothes, in this is our religion. Stop following every trend that comes. Learn your Islam with an unbroken chain of narration, what is agreed upon by the scholars, and stick to that. I'm not saying don't listen to nothing else. Don't benefit from nothing else. I'm not saying that. But don't just be jumping around trying to be unique. And that's what I see. I'm Ash'ari. Now I found this guy. He's Hanbali, Athari. Now I want to be that. Next week, someone's going to, I don't mean next week, literally. Stop moving all around the place. Learn, benefit, examine, study. But try to find something because you're going to go generationally with this. And when you find just this one guy over here and this one group over here, that's a sign that this is not the normal way. The way of Ahl Sunnah is the vast majority of the Muslim nation. Ash'aris, Maturidis, and it's well known, well mapped out. There's no one figure. There's no one great Ash'ari sheikh, one great Maturidi sheikh, and everybody else is no. There's hundreds and thousands from generation to generation to generation of Ash'aris. So you get or Maturidis. Now you talk about Hanbali Athari. You're stuck to one group of one person, and you don't find too many people even having that belief. But me, man, we different. I want to go join that. Come on. And I'm not saying everyone's like, I know my people. I know my people very well. Watch that. You know, we got to stop that stuff, man. Seriously. It's dangerous. And I'm not talking about the individual who says I'm Hanbali Athari, and I know what's being spread around the internet. And I'm not saying anything about that person. I'm saying us. I'm talking about us. We got to stop that stuff. You don't got to be unique. You don't have to come up with nothing new. Islam is fine the way it is. Our knowledge has been conveyed from generation to generation. You don't have to do that. And you don't have enough knowledge to do that. Right? So you should learn a well-trodden way so you won't be confused. And then once you learn, go ahead and learn other things, compare, read, study, examine, expand your knowledge, travel, do all that. But have a firm footing first before you go jumping on every bandwagon. No, a serious problem with us. Do you agree that this has happened to us? We go from this movement to this movement to this movement to this movement. Enough. Enough, really. We have to learn seriously. And then you won't, and I'm not talking about you, Hadia. I'm not talking about you particularly. I'm just talking about in general. Us as a people. We got to stop this. Problem is, we keep looking for celebrities to lead us. You know, man, his ice got to be colder than his ice. Let me go get over in his ice. Guess what? No one heard this. I'm the first one with this. These are my new kicks. But it's your religion. These are my new kicks. This is my new jacket. Look at that. Nobody got this but me. Come on, man. We grown. We grown. We're not kids anymore. That coat, somebody else is going to have the same coat. Don't worry about it. We got to stop that stuff. And that's how we fall into cult after cult after cult, because we into that stuff. Not just let me learn and practice. I need something special only for me that no one else got. We on the truth and everyone else is misguided. No, seriously, this is a habit. I don't know. Don't pay attention to the annex. That's how I see it though. Because I was like that too. Soon as some Sufi sheikh come, some new guys, man, you see how he did his dhikr? Nobody ever in the world did dhikr like that. Let me join that. Then after a while, you realize it's some crazy group you done jumped into. And so, I'm finished that. Next week you over here. Come on, man. Al-Sunnah's been consistent. It's well known, mapped out, and it's wide. You don't got to do that. You don't have to do that. If y'all follow what I mean, is what I'm saying. Y'all get my point? It don't have to be literal, but do you get my point? And it might not apply to everyone, but this is a common thread that we must stop. Okay, we I mean, I see it because I did it. I know what we do. I did it myself. I'm not blaming no one else. I did it myself. And now I look back at some of the stuff I did. I was talking to my wife last night about this, right? About this issue. I did it. I know. And now when I look back and I see this stuff, I'll be like, man, I was foolish, right? You know, when you learn some of the stuff, you know, some stuff is just wrong. And when you're like that, somebody will say the most crazy thing to you. You know it's crazy, but you're so caught up in their stuff that you don't even realize what's being said to you. You know what someone said to me one time? He said, we get so confused. We'll let somebody come in our neighborhoods that's not from our neighborhoods, set up business, sell us things that they don't even use. And we would give them all our money. And they would take all our money outside of our community, and we continue this process and never say, wait a minute. Let us start building our own communities. But that's us. We do stuff like that, and we should fix it. That's true. There it goes, Selena. We are unconsciously looking for a savior, and I'll give us a wake-up call. The only Savior coming for us is us. Just in case you didn't get the email, the only one coming to save us is us. Now, someone else may help, but no one's coming to save you if you don't do it yourself. What they're going to do is give you a little bit and take a whole lot from you. And all you got to do is be a student of history. You will see that that's had happened to us over and over and over again. Sometimes I hold back, but if some people keep pushing, I'm going to fire on them in a way they never will forget it. There are some people that got black people under their spell, black Muslims. They got them like slaves and zombies. And one day they're going to push the wrong button and I'm going to let loose on them. And they're going to be in trouble when I finish. They better go sit down. Because black people are not stupid. They just sleep. They're not dumb. They're sleeping. But all you have to do is wake them up. When you wake them up, you out of business. They sleeping. And if you worrying about them getting a little bit woke, if somebody really wake them up, you in trouble. So relax. So for you black house Negroes who sit in and go report to master, tell master he keep it up. I'm going to publicly expose him. Now go report that to your master. It's personal. Y'all don't understand. When I say it's personal, I hate to see Negroes working on behalf of someone to destroy their own benefit. You know what I mean? This has been the conscience of when African Americans try to do for themselves. There's always been Negroes who would be among the blacks, go back reporting to master, so-called master, who's not a master at all. The blacks are doing this. The blacks are doing this. What do you want me to do, boss? I'm letting you know what they're doing. One day, that same person who you're reporting to is going to be exposed. All right, I did my work. I think my point is clear, and I'm just trying not to be explicit. 1 second. One second. My battery is dying. Am I clear what I just said? Did y'all follow me? Let me give you a hint. All right, a hint. Your handlers have not taught you well. Your handlers have hid information from you so they can control you. Your handlers themselves are not scholars. Your handlers are not scholars. I know you say shake, shake. They know themselves they're not sheikhs. They've told you they're not sheikhs. You just keep thinking that they have your best interest. Your handlers came in your neighborhoods, had you fix up things for them in your neighborhoods, took your money, took it to where they go and hang with their people, and left you out. Your handlers have hundreds of books that they study that they've never showed you. How do I know? I have the books. Your handlers have not taken care of you. They don't care about you. They've shown you. They only allow you to work the cash register. You will never see the bank account. You will never control the bank account. You will never control anything that relates to building. You will always be a servant so long as you stay in that position. Do you got that? Your neighborhood was the same when they got there, it's the same after they leave, and you're going to be left with it. The schools, their children went, they build, they become your teachers and the slave masters for your children. That's real. If you can't wake up and see that, I don't know what to tell you. You're never an authority. When are you going to be able to make the real decisions and not have to consult to your handler? Can I speak? Aren't you a man? Aren't you a woman? Aren't you raising children and building things? Why do you got to go to your handlers to get permission to do anything? And why don't you got to consult them for everything you got to do, but they never consult you on anything they do? Don't you realize you are a servant? Don't you see that? Are you blind? The Salafis, black Salafis, they realized that after a while. Some of them still got the problem. They started rebelling against that Saudi rulership. They realized that we can never be anything except that our Saudi handlers justify. And our Saudi handlers had our own black brothers warning against us. They woke up. You still sleep. Those Wahhabi guys woke up. They went and started their own institutions. They ain't listening to nothing them Saudis got to say. That's what they did. Go look on the internet and see how many of those Salafi people don't even listen to those Saudis no more. They said, no more of that. Y'all not doing nothing for us. While you sitting over there drinking your tea and eating your dates, you're not thinking about us, as one of them said. And it's the same on the Sunni side. A bunch of people and a lot of blacks have realized that. Came over, used them, took all their resources, built stuff, and now you're still in the same position, broke, and still haven't built anything. And soon as your people start to do something, you're the one they send to destroy anything that your people are doing. And let me explain something to you. Wallahi, wallahi, thumma wallahi, I swear by Allah, I love Sheikh Waleed Rifai with all my heart. I love him. Not just as someone we learned and benefited. I'm talking about as a person, as a brother. I love him to death. But I will never, ever put him over my people. You will work with us and we will work together, but never will I allow, and I will tell you front, never will I say, let's just go follow him. We're going to learn from him. We're going to be brothers. We'll work together. We'll share. But if there's going to be any leadership among us, it needs to be us. And it don't have to be me. Seriously. And it's not racism. It's what we need as a people. We can't keep following others. We need our own leaders. And everyone else has their own leaders. They do. I studied in Egypt. The leaders are Egyptian. I studied in Saudi Arabia. The leaders are Saudi. I studied in Lebanon. The leaders are Lebanese. I was in Syria. The leaders are Syrian. Right? I got Pakistani teachers. They're Pakistani. I got Indian teachers. The leaders in there are Indian. I go to Malaysia. The leaders are Malaysian. Why, when black folks want to have their own leadership, we separating from the Muslims? Why ain't y'all separating when y'all got your own leadership? This is natural. The people would come to the Prophet ﷺ and learn, and the Prophet say, go back and teach your people. nothing wrong with that. Just don't be racist. Don't exclude others and it's only your people. That's haram. That's what's done to us all the time. So no, listen. And I spoke, because some people say, well, is Sheikh Waleed there as, he's no, he ain't pulling my strings at all. I love him. He's my brother. He's a teacher for me. I benefited from him. We talk all the time, but he's not pulling those strings here. Forget about it. So hey, I hate to say it so harshly, but for my people, it's essential that we understand that. We ain't being slaves for nobody. We can't afford that anymore. We can't teach our children that. We cannot do that. Do you understand what I mean? We can't afford it as a people, but we should work with others. We should cooperate with others. We should be brothers, and this is one nation. But in that nation, there's tribes and families. We got to learn to take care of ourselves, because no matter how hard Sheikh Waleed loves me, and he loves me, Sheikh Waleed don't live in the inner city. Sheikh Waleed don't deal with the stuff I deal with. Sheikh Waleed can't even handle the stuff I deal with, even if he wanted to. But he can help teach, he can help learn, he can help do a lot of things. But he can't go in the hood and deal with the stuff I got to deal with. He can't deal with this white man the way we got to deal with him. So the George Floyd thing, he may say is wrong, but he don't feel what that really feels like. Not from our side. He doesn't. And I don't expect him to. He didn't come. He might. And just like I don't know what it feels like to have the Israelis all over my back. I don't know that feeling. Even though I saw it. I was in Lebanon in a war when they was fighting with Israel. But I didn't feel it the same as the Lebanese felt it. I'm not Lebanese. I'm African American. Even though I saw bombs dropping, I seen people getting killed, but I don't feel the same. I mean, my Muslim brothers and I'm wondering what's going on, but it's not my affair. I wish good. I wish that the Muslims are successful, but I don't feel what they feel, right? Likewise, they don't feel what I feel as a black man. No matter how much you love me, you make dua for me, but you ain't dealing with these situations. So Islam's not wiping out these realities. But if we use Islam properly, we work together, we can all overcome them. But let's not get confused about this. I said this because I'm saying this to prevent myself from one day saying something stronger. Do y'all follow what I mean? Is this clear with me? Is this clear with everybody? Any questions about what I know? It sounds harsh, but I have to say it. All right. So, and me and Sheikh Waleed, we have these conversations. So he might not like me saying it in public, but we have this because I'm not playing those games. No. Our children are at stake here. Our grandchildren are at stake because if we don't take care of this issue, we in trouble, right? No, the white man's ice is not colder. He has ice just like you got ice. Don't play that game. We can be brothers. We can share and we can work, but we're not going to be subjugated by nobody. No more. Not if I got anything to do with it. And I would expect that my non-African American brothers and sisters should have some understanding why we feel the way we feel. We all feel it. Just some of us are afraid to say it, right? We feel it. We know what's going on, but we want to get some knowledge. So in order to get knowledge, we'll compromise our dignity, unfortunately, because we're good people. We'll compromise our dignity just to learn our religion, right? Think about that. Why would you want me to do that? Just to learn Islam, you want me to belittle myself. A'udhu billah. What kind of animal are you? That in order to learn from me, I need you to degrade yourself and belittle yourself. What kind of nonsense is that? But that's what some blacks feel they have to do. If I don't lower myself, if I don't put myself down, I won't learn the religion. Who does that? Islam's supposed to raise you up, honor. You know what Bilal said to Abu Bakr? When Abu Bakr came to free Bilal, to buy his freedom, look at Bilal's statements. The meaning of them, I don't remember the exact wording. So I'm quoting, paraphrasing what he said to Abu Bakr. He said to Abu Bakr in some narrations in the books of Sirah, he said, are you freeing me so that I can worship Allah, or are you freeing me so that I can become a servant of you? If you're freeing me so that I can be a servant of you, leave me in bondage. Wow. You see that? If you're freeing me so that I can be a servant of you, leave me in bondage. That's deep. Think about that. Think about how strong he felt. And we should say, if you're teaching me so that I can serve you, man, leave me ignorant. I'll go find someone who's going to teach me to be free. I don't need to learn Islam to be a slave, to be a servant of no one. I should be a servant of Allah. And that's how we should be. So I'm telling you, any black man or woman who has someone over top of you, subduing you, making you, and you know the feeling yourself, just stop lying to yourself. I gotta be to get the knowledge. I don't have nowhere else to go, so I gotta take this stuff. No, you don't. There's knowledge all around the world. What you have to do is travel, to go listen to other people, to start studying, to even take what you learn and apply it. You don't have to be nobody's servant. You don't have to let nobody abuse you. You don't have to do it. And let alone the people who are abusing you ain't even cut like that. That's the worst part. And you know it. If it wasn't for your love for Islam, you wouldn't take that crap. Muti is still tea in here no matter what you say. So I'm just telling you. And because it hurts me. And maybe sometimes I get myself in trouble because I can't take it. I can't. Really. I love my people too much. I can't take it. When I see black people being abused, I get angry. Straight up. And especially when I know they're being abused. And I know you're being abused. Trust me. And any one of you who doubt it, I'll show you 1,000 times over that you're being abused, where you can't deny it. Right? Over and over, I will show you where you're being abused. And you will not be able to deny it. All I say is open your eyes. And if you stop being abused, then others won't be abused. But as long as they can abuse you, they're going to abuse others because they think others are like you. Until they reach black people who are really black people, we ain't taking that. So long as they got those who are going to put their head down and tap their feet, smile when nothing's funny, dance when there's no music, they're going to think all black people are like that. So you're really doing black people a disservice with your behavior. Stand up, be a man, be a woman, make your rightful claim. All right, that's my long, drawn out refutation of your handler's speech. Without mentioning the name, without mentioning nothing, those who got it, got it. But the thing is general for all of us, right? I'm specifically talking about one thing, but it's generally applicable to everything, right? So if you just get the principle, no one can do it to you, no matter who it is. So get the principle. Stop being servants for others. Why you can't be in charge? You ever thought about that? Why you can't be the runner of everything? Why not? Why not they be under your leadership? Why is that not doable? Huh? Why you can't be in charge? Why you can't be the CEO? Why you can't be the president? Why? Why must you only have some little position that has no authority? Why can't you make the decisions? Why? I want to answer why the black man can't be in charge. Why is that a problem? No answers? Why the black man can't run everything? He makes the decisions. Why not? Why is haram? Haram for the black man to be in charge? Haram? La yajuz. No permissible black man can't be in charge. La ilaha illallah. It's possible. Guess what? At Masjid Muhammad, I'm a black man. I'm in charge. Masjid al-Taqwa, Imam Siraj Wahaj is a black man. He's in charge. So there are black men in charge. MIB, Imam Talib is a black man. He's in charge. Go to Memphis Mosque. In Memphis, Sheikh Hamza Abdul Malik is a black man. He's in charge. Go to Masjid al-Islam in Atlanta. Imam Suleiman is a black man. He's in charge. Go to Isla, LA. Imam Jihad Safar is a black man. He's in charge. Go to Masjid Sabur in Las Vegas. Imam Fatin, he's a black man. He's in charge. So black men can be in charge. Black men can run organizations. Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, he had his organizations. He was a black man. He was in charge. Imam Wardi Muhammad, he had a community. He was a black man. He was in charge. Why a black man can't be in charge of your organization? Huh? Why not? He runs everything. He's in charge. That's what you should fight for. Don't fight for equality. Don't fight for being, no, we want a black man in charge. How about that? Oh, he's not knowledgeable enough. Well, train him and put a black man in charge like you trained your people and made them in charge. How about that? Think about that. Now, that's your challenge. Go ask for black leadership. We want a black president, a black vice president, the black sheikh. We want black people to be in charge. Show me that you can do what we do. We follow you. Now show us that you can follow us. Show us the same. We'll dedicate, we'll donate for you. Now show us you'll do the same. And watch, it'll never happen. And if it do happen, watch they leave the neighborhood. Seriously, this is serious stuff. And here's the real reality. Most of them in charge are no more qualified than us, really. It's only they speak other language and that's really it. They're no more qualified than you. They don't know much more than you. Whatever they know, you can learn in 1 year crash course. Trust me. But really what it is they slave masters. But it's mental slave masters. They just don't got you in chains. Break the cycle for your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren. Next, our discussion is not going to be about knowledge. Our discussion is going to be about racism. And once you remove racism, then we can talk about knowledge. Because if you still got racism, your knowledge is not benefiting you. Did you hear what I said? Isla, you right real quick. Any discussion with me is not going to be about knowledge. It's going to be about racism. Once we eliminate racism, then we'll talk about knowledge. Because if you still have racism, your knowledge means nothing. Do you got that? You can tell me about your knowledge all day, but if you still got racism, your knowledge means nothing. I don't care what you know. And if you can't follow a black man, you're a racist. Period. I'm doing a little in-house cleaning. Is there any questions about what I just said? I'm not going to tell you what I'm talking about specifically, but I'm talking about the point. Any questions? I'll take them. We've been finished class, but there's some things that need to be addressed, so I'm hitting them. No questions? No questions, no comments. We can get out of here. So that's my thing. I think us as black people, African Americans, we need our own leadership to establish dignity, not to separate from others. We don't want to separate from others. We want to have dignity and the ability to build our own communities, to build our own schools where our people can have dignity and not feel inferior or treated in an inferior manner by others who wish to maintain superiority over us. That's our problem. And we have been dealing with this in America for over 400 years. That's why we got HBCUs. That's why we have them, because we weren't getting a fair shake. And now in Islam, we're feeling the same thing. We're tired of you putting your knee on our necks. Get it? I don't know why you don't get it. But if you don't take your knee off the neck, one day we're going to break your knee. That's what's going to happen. So why don't you learn before it gets ugly? We are Muslims. We are your brothers. Why you got to be on top of us? Why you can't work with us? Why you can't support us? Why it is only us to support you, you never support us? Why? Why? That's something we should say. Why? What's wrong with you? Didn't you get the message of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Why do you still have this stuff inside of you? What's wrong? You didn't read all this stuff? Don't you know Tasawwuf? Don't you know Tasawwuf teach you to have compassion and concern and others and to prefer others over yourself? That's a part of Sufism. To prefer others over yourself. Al-Ithar. Don't you know about this? This Islam. That thing you teaching, you said about the knowledge. Yeah, part of that is to be concerned of others, to uplift people, to build better communities, environments, not to move away from people and you stay over there and we're over here, but just we'll come back to get some money and then we're out of here. It's not Islam. It's not Islam at all. That means you haven't embodied your Islam. And yes, I'm talking about the black card. Yes. So you won't say, well, you're using the black card. Yes, I am. The big one too. The one you need to look at. Maybe it should be bigger so you can see it. Maybe you need to see a huge, big old black card that allow you to see what you're doing is wrong. So I say, in that old voice that we let my people go. And I say to my people, demand your emancipation, demand your independence by any means necessary that are valid according to the sacred law. Barakallahu bikum wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Go ahead, take that back to your handlers. Tell your master I said it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.